in lullaby, only the first violins, cellos, and basses are required to shift. The seconds and violas can shift if they want to, but it's not required for this. But don't you want your violas and second violins to be working on shifting? I think that's important too, and that's why I created this teaching companion. Well, it's one of the reasons why I created the teaching companion for lullaby, is so that you can teach the whole class the shifting techniques, not just the first and the cellos and a little bit to the basses. I'm a really big fan of teaching by rote. I think it's important. I think students learn fastest by rote, and I think it's important as a conductor that my students are learning how to watch me instead of just bury their heads in the music all the time. So a lot of my classroom time, especially at the beginning of class, is taught by rote. And if you want some rote techniques and some exercises and tips on shifting, you can go to Season 1, Episode 5, where I go into a lot more detail on shifting in general. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about shifting specific to lullaby. One of the big takeaways from that video should be that you need to shift with both hands, meaning that the higher that you play up on the fingerboard with the left hand, the closer to the bridge that you should play with the bow, generally speaking. And you're going to need to remind your students a lot, hey, we need to shift with both hands. Hey, you need to play closer to the bridge, particularly your cellos. A lot of cellists tend to like to play over the fingerboard, and usually it's because of their bow hold. Their pinkies are usually too tense, and as a result, they end up pushing down on the screw of the bow, and it pushes the tip up. So that means on every up bow, they're going to be moving up, up, up closer to the fingerboard, and that's how they get stuck there. So the solution is just to have them relax the bow hold, just have them make a bow sandwich and not stick out that pinky. They're not drinking tea with the Queen of England or anything like that. They're just playing the cello. So here in the teaching companion, we have our first shifting exercise, and we basically just slide from first finger B to first finger D just to find third position. And the idea is to use your ears to slide into pitch and be able to hear that minor third interval. When you're shifting, if you want a smoother shift, you can lead with the elbow and let the finger catch up as you're shifting, and that's going to lead to a smoother shift. You can have your students slide. I used to use the lift, shift, set method, and since I've gone away from that, I like the slide into pitch method a lot better. So could you slide in lullaby? Like, could you create some slides there? I mean, it's kind of a romantic piece, and so I think it could be appropriate. However, you can have them just lift their fingers up just enough to where the strings aren't active and have them set in the correct location, but still lead with the elbow before you do that, and it's going to be a much smoother shift, and lullaby needs to be smooth. So they're shifting, leading with the elbow, and as they get better at these slides, they can start sliding faster and finding those spots quicker. Shifting is like parking a car. You want to drive quickly to the parking space and then slow down to turn into the space. Well, it's the same thing here. You want to slide quickly towards the pitch and then kind of find it at the end of the slide. It's not just like a uniform glissando, like a linear glissando. You want to shift quickly and then kind of find that note at the end. In the teaching companion, I have a shifting exercise for fifth position. And for fifth position, they need to play pretty close to the bridge as they shift up to fifth position. So when they're bowing, they want to change bowing lanes for the higher note and change back for the lower note. Get that into their heads that they need to shift with both hands. It's going to make them sound a lot better. Then I have them shift, and I have them play some finger patterns along with the shift, and shift down and up with the finger patterns and make sure they're playing in tune. In fifth position, I like them to have them shift up and then check with the open A's. When they go up to the A, check with the open A, and then they can slide back down. Don't go any faster than what your students can do with good technique, good tone, and good intonation. If they're not shifting with both hands, it's probably too fast. Slow it down and give them time to think about what they're doing. You don't have to go concert tempo for all these exercises. I know that lullaby's andante, and that's kind of slow already, but for this, you can go even slower. You can isolate each note. You can go from note to note. You don't have to go too fast. You can have them slow it down and really learn the technique correctly. I think there's a lot of spots in lullaby that work out better in the first violin part for 4th position instead of from 5th position. And so I have a little exercise on 4th position here for everybody. I even have some 2nd position stuff for the cellos because I think their part actually works better in 2nd position than 3rd position. You know, the odd positions are great and, you know, they're accessible. We teach the odd positions, but the even positions are important too. You know, if you ever want to play Beethoven, if you ever want to play Brahms or something, you know, like you should probably learn the even positions too. And maybe one day your students want to play from those composers. So maybe help prepare them for that. Teach them the even positions too. Aside from matching the open strings, your students can also listen for the ringtones. So for D is a ringtone. They should be able to hear the D ring and create resonance with their instruments. It's a little bit harder of a skill than to play with the open string, but rather than crossing back down to the D, and you know, sometimes it's just not as convenient, you can just have them listen for the ring. There are quite a few shifts, especially in the first violin part, that are preceded by rests. So just look at this first one here in 19. You know, 18, we're playing D, then we rest, then we're in 3rd position. So in the rest, they can sort of feel out the D by tapping the string a little bit. And if you go to season 1, episode 4, I have a demonstration exercise on finger tappers and how to tap the strings. And in that video series, it's useful for helping to teach vibrato, but it also has other use cases as well. It just establishes, you know, left-hand technique. So have them tap the string, feel out the string in the rest so that they know that they're going to come in tune. Don't guess. Feel out the note and come in tune. So where else do we have this? We have this in measure 68. We rest here and then come in here in, I guess, 5th position. I'd really do this in 4th, but that's fine. Measure 73, you know, we should already be in 3rd here, but there's a rest here that we can use to find that 2nd finger B and make sure that, you know, we're feeling out the B and we're coming in tune. Measure 100, the solo violin part, you know, they're in 1st position here, and then they got a couple of rests and they can feel out that D. The rest of the violin section is playing this D here. Should be 4th finger D, so they can tune to them. Again, it's very important, and it's something that orchestras miss quite frequently. When you shift, especially in the upper positions, you need to shift with both hands. The higher you play up on the fingerboard, the closer you need to play towards the bridge to keep your tone consistent. If your tone is squirrely, it's really hard to hear. You know, if you're not making good tone, it's hard to play in tune. You know, that's why it's called intonation, right? Right? In the next video, I'm going to talk about alternate fingerings. There are some fingerings that are included in here editorially, and I disagree with a lot of them, so I'm going to go over some changes that I make to help my students play this better, and a lot of that involves playing in the even positions. So hope you check out my next video on alternate fingerings.